third or in the fourth round, in the third round. I mean, if you think about like Pacheco's a 7th rounder last year, like not saying you're going to get somebody that good, but you just might.
Yep. Yeah, that's where you are there. Receiver, you could look at a 53 right now. I mean, I even got some extra spots here. You got 6 receivers: Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, David Bell. I think those 4 are locks.
Yeah.
I think those are your 4 locks. I think you got Jakeem Grant if he's ready to go, and then maybe for now we'll say on the 6th spot, Anthony Schwartz, Michael Woods, Demetric Felton if his I don't know who, or that could be somebody outside.
That could be a draft too.
Or that could be Marquise Goodwin. I mean,
yeah. But you're down the list now at this point. You're pretty locked in at the top of it.
Yep. 3 tight ends: Njoku, Jordan Akins, Harrison Bryant.
Yep. That's locked.
You got 4 tackles: Conklin, Jed Wills, Joe Haig, James Hudson. And again, Haig has played in the league for a while, but my guess is that would be your 4th. But you could have a rookie. You could draft a tackle. Guards: Batonio Teller, Drew Forbes is probably your top backup right now. But again, you could draft somebody or bring back a Michael Dunn, for example, who's a free agent. So somebody there. So I think I got, what do I have, 25 on this side? 6, 12, 15, and 9. No, 24. And then your centers, Posick and Nick Harris. Now, Dawson Deaton's a guy that we drafted last year. He could be a guard, tackle. Maybe he's somebody he's competing in the mix there. Then you go to the defensive side.
Real quick on that offense.
Go ahead.
This is what the more acquisition allows, because now this absolutely could be set, and it allows for, and it's, as I was leading off the top of the show with this, it allows for you to be more than a top 10 offense in the NFL. It allows for explosiveness. It allows for you to, with the, of course, understanding that Watson reverts to what he was in 2021 or 2020, provided he does that, which we all believe that he'll do. We saw it in practice. There's hard for me to imagine that he doesn't. It allows for you to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with Cincinnati, Buffalo, Kansas City.
Yes.
It allows for that.
Yeah.
Without Elijah Moore, my argument was it didn't, that there wasn't enough firepower. Now, theoretically, there is.
Yeah.
So that's what all of that means. And it allows for them to, I mean, God, you can swing big in the draft. You can, great things fall your way. You can go, I think this opens up running back.
Yeah.
Which is, you said it off the top. I said it this morning. Like, this allows for all of a sudden incredible talent in the 3rd, 4th round at running back falls to you. You can pounce on that as a weapon. And now you've got another weapon.
Yep.
Because that will be the job going forward, is to stockpile weapons so that when people leave or when things move off of, you got somebody you could plug in. Kansas City's the best example of this.
Absolutely.
To your defense, sir.
So on the defense, defensive end, you've got Miles, 007, Alex Wright, and Isaiah Thomas. Now, I think that you could add a vet or a rookie here. I think there could be another player of consequence added to this room. And Isaiah Thomas's job is going to be to try to hold that off. Those first 3 are locks. Defensive tackle, you'll end up with 4 there. Defensive tackle, Dalvin Tomlinson, Perrin Winfrey. Jim Schwartz, I think, is a fan of Jordan Elliott. And then I think that last spot will be who emerges out of Maurice Hurst, Tristan Hill. I think it's a long shot for, it's going to be tough for Tommy Togiai, but this is his chance if he's going to change his trajectory. Now, Ben Still, who was on the roster last year, Roderick Perry, who was on the roster for a few games, there's going to be a healthy competition for that 4th defensive tackle spot.
I think at D end, I mean, I always think of like Frank Clark.
Frank Clark would be great.
Cleveland guy.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Michigan guy.
Yeah.
Played at Michigan.
Can rush the passer.
Can rush the
seriously. Yeah. So, yes, I think that would be great. And then what you would be having is, Garrett, 007, and Frank Clark in your NASCAR package with either Tomlinson or Perry on if he emerges as the best pass rusher. And then Alex Wright would probably play your big end in run situations. Linebackers, you could have 6, maybe you have 7 here to get to 53 right now, but Awak, Phillips, Taki, JOK. Now, I don't even know if Taki's going to be ready for week 1. So you could say that's a question mark. Tony Fields. And then you got Kunashik and Adams that you signed for special teams. And those guys, I think there's a good chance both of those guys end up on the roster. So if Taki's not ready, then it would be Phillips, Walker, JOK, Fields. And there could be injuries, obviously, but we're talking about right now. Corner, you've got Denzel, you've got Greg, you've got MJ, you've got AJ, you've got Ford, who was brought in from Mike Ford, that's a Bubba Ventrone favorite, brought in from Atlanta. And by the way, Adams is a Bubba Ventrone favorite as well, the linebacker. Matthew Adams, he had him in Indy and has been one of the top 3 Pro Football Focus special teamers in the league, period, full stop. So I think you've got those 5, and then you could add, I think you add a rookie into that room in the DB room. In the cornerback room, I'm sorry. I think it'll be a rookie who's more of a true nickel. Free safety, you got Juan Thornhill. Strong safety, Grant and DeAnthony Bell. I still think you need a veteran with some positional versatility. Not an expensive guy, but a veteran who's played in the league and knows how to play back there in that safety room. I think that's something that still needs to be added to that room. And then you do that, and you got your 3 specialists, and boom, we're at 53.
Yeah, I think you just did it. I think as you're going through all of that, and you think about what would I like to have more of? I'd like to have one more. I'm not talking about a superstar, but Frank Clark is a high production guy. I think you need one more dude at end. I'd like to have one more guy there for injury, for everything, and just I think you need to buttress that up just a little bit. But these are now more like luxury plays more than they are. If we don't have this, we can't field a team that can compete. We can field a team that can compete. This is more luxury stuff. So I'd like to see one more there. I'd like to see one more D tackle because I'd like to be in a position where there's some competitiveness in terms of Perrion and Elliott. I'd like one more dude in there, whether it's a rookie, veteran. I think on end, I'd almost rather have a veteran. At tackle, I could go either way. Doesn't really matter. I just want one more guy who can play, who can push for playing time.
Okay.
And I think you're right on safety. I think you need one more guy back there to.
Safety is the one where it feels to me like we going into the season as we are right now is unacceptable. I think you can go into the season at end and defensive tackle exactly as you are. You could. Do I think you can improve those? Yeah. I don't think you can go into safety the way you are right now.
Yeah.
Just with DeAnthony Bell and Bubba Bolden as your only backups, that doesn't. And my guess is that you don't want you want a cheap veteran because DeAnthony's still only a second-year player. Maybe you draft one as well to become that kind of versatile safety in the draft in the middle rounds. Again, I'm with you. Those are the things and then the other thing that I think you need is a running back. I think that's really the only need you have on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and I think you have great versatility to be able to do that. I was just going to pull up. I'd like to be able to. Is one of these things where you can do it by position?
On our roster?
No. Like available free agents at safety left, who's still in the mix. It doesn't seem like a lot of this stuff isn't updated. I just would be curious to know, like NFL Trade Rumors puts out like a position rankings. Well, this was on March 8th. Let me see if I can get here. This is The Athletic did this.
Here we go.
You got a list that just has given me some safeties.
We'll see if we have to cross anybody off. We'll see. But off the top of my head, it says defensive backs.
You're looking for safety?
That's just.
I found one on The Athletic. It's just the internet here is brutal, so I'm trying to get to a point where it'll load.
Is Taylor Rapp?
What about like a Rodney McLeod?
Yeah, these are some names. Yeah, those are the names. So yeah, all right. So Julie, I don't know. I have no point of reference on. Yeah, so Thornhill they had 10th on this list, but a lot of these guys have already signed.
Adrian Amos, John Johnson, who we thought signed somewhere
with
I
the
guess
Chargers.
The Chargers,
right? But did not, according to everybody and their brother here.
Is that just are they just waiting that out?
I'm not sure.
To make it official?
Terrell Edmonds?
That's not. We need somebody that's got.
I'm just rattling off the ones that I'm seeing.
Yeah, Taylor Rapp would be.
Yeah.
Taylor Rapp is an interesting one. Who's a young guy that if he's still available probably can be had for pretty cheap.
There's an Andrew Adams from Tennessee. He's 30.
So Taylor Rapp, Rodney McLeod, who was with the Saints last year, Adrian Amos, who was with the Packers. Those are the guys. Duron Harmon's a veteran that you could bring in here that absolutely knows how to play both positions and could be valuable. Logan Ryan, same thing, and these guys would be pretty cheap. That's the world you're living in. That's what you're looking at. Rodney McLeod would make a ton of sense.
Duron Harmon is on this list still.
Those are the names you're looking for, though. That's where you're at.
And then if you're talking just real quick,
honestly, there's a lot of depth, a lot of veterans still out there on the defensive line. Forrest Buckner's still out there, Frank Clark's still out there. There's a lot of veteran D-line, D-end, D-tackle guys that are out there who could be like guys you sign in July in advance of camp.
I think from a running back standpoint, if it was a veteran, the only guy that really makes a ton of sense, Jerick McKinnon.
That just screams rookie to me.
It does, but if you're looking for somebody who's your pass catcher, you want them to be stout in pass protection.
Well, that's true.
And that doesn't scream rookie to me with Kevin Stefanski.
I don't know if Jerome Ford can do that or not. We just haven't seen him do that.
It's right, and I think one of the things they're talking about is the assumption that he's just going to be able to step in and do what Kareem did or do it even better. I think is a little bit tough. McKinnon, I don't even know if people realize what McKinnon did down the stretch last year for them. 56 catches, 512 yards, and 9 touchdowns receiving for the Chiefs. So he's somebody that absolutely could give you that third down complement to Nick Chubb and allow Ford to really focus on just being a backup and continuing to learn, in his second year in the league. That would be, to me, if you got him on like a Vetman deal, would be an awesome signing.
That'd be a sweet one.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, Z goes one-on-one with Elijah Moore. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Certainly is a new word to cheer on your Cleveland Browns. Help your favorite four-legged companion. Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. And now here's Z, one-on-one with our new wide receiver, Elijah Moore.
Elijah, first of all,
Down.
Cleveland, welcome to the Browns.
Thank you, man. Happy to be here.
All right, when did you know that this was a possibility?
Probably yesterday, I got a phone call from my agent, and he was like, Cleveland? I was like, I'm with it. So I was just super excited hearing the news, so I'm just blessed to be here,
Well, we're certainly happy to have you. I'm sure as you've kind of made the rounds, you knew that the Browns were interested in you 2 years ago when you were coming out of Ole Miss, coming off of a very productive season there. It didn't work out, but now they got a chance to make it right and bring you here. In the draft, a team wants you. They select you in the draft, especially early in the second round. But they have a team come and trade for you. What did that mean to you?
And man, everything. Being wanted and being in a position to where you can go somewhere and feel at home, and people make you feel good when you can contribute to a team. I feel like it's just a huge blessing. And being surrounded by players that I know too makes me feel good and comfortable. So I'm just blessed to be here.
All right, so who are some of the guys you know already?
Coop, Deshaun, some of the boys on defense, so I played against them obviously.
A lot of LSU guys here.
Yeah, so I feel like the SEC is all around the league, so I got a few familiar faces.
So you said Coop and Deshaun. How did you cultivate those relationships?
So Coop's from where I'm from.
Okay.
And then Deshaun, I met him back in LA, but yesterday he was like one of the first people to text me, so that felt good too as well. So yeah, man, I'm super excited to get to work.
Well, I know he's excited as well. What was that text exchange?
Just kind of being excited about being here and being together, and just getting to work, So I'm super excited to be out there. I'm probably going to link up with him when I leave here. So, I'm ready to get
build that chemistry, which is great, and yeah, we're certainly excited about that. I know Kevin Stefanski, our head coach, very excited. He said he called you yesterday. I was at an event with him, and he said all I can tell you is the guy was very excited. So what was kind of that exchange like, getting to meet your head coach and getting to share with him your feelings?
Yeah, man, it was just back and forth excitement. I think we're both super pumped up about what he thinks I can bring and what I know I can bring here too. So I'm just glad to be a Brown.
All right, so you're an electric playmaker. You were in college. You were with the Jets as well. You have an ability to beat man coverage. Silly. Amari Cooper's one of the best in the league against that too, so you're going to get to learn from one of the best route runners. But that's one of the things that is your calling card. If you were to say to Browns fans, here's what you're getting, in my opinion, in Elijah Moore, what would it be?
You're getting a dog. You're getting someone who's an ultimate competitor. I'm going to play my heart out every single game. I know I'm just be ready for whatever. You see what I'm saying? I want to win, and I feel like that's the ultimate thing, is winning. So that's what I'm here to do.
You've only been in the league 2 years. You've played with a lot of quarterbacks. And hopefully for the Browns, listen, we had a history where we went through a lot of quarterbacks as well, but hopefully now we've got one for a very, very long time in Deshaun. When you talk about getting to play with a guy that's led the league in passing, that at one point had the highest passer rating in NFL history, highest completion percentage in NFL history, what does that mean to you, and what can you guys kind of hopefully become together?
See my face?
Yeah.
I'm going to just be smiling.
You're like, I'm not even sure this is real right now.
It feels surreal,
Yeah.
So I've always, all my life, I never really had in college I had Matt Corral, and that was like kind of the best example of what I had seen, and he's a great quarterback.
Yeah.
But Deshaun, I've been watching him since I was young. You know what I'm saying? Clemson and everything that he's accomplished. So it's just a huge blessing to be a part of that.
And to know that, you have Amari from where you're from, somebody who's multiple-time Pro Bowler, multiple-time 1,000-yard seasons in the league. Is it nice to kind of have a veteran like that you're going to be able to kind of pick his brain as well?
Yeah, I'm super excited for that.
And you also know Mike Harley Jr. pretty well.
Yeah, that's my dog.
Yeah, so give a little bit of the background on that, because he was a guy who came in, made a real impression as an undrafted free agent, stayed on the practice squad all year, but really you played a pretty big role in his life.
Yeah, man, we went to high school together. We went to St. Thomas. I got to see how he grew up, how hard he works, and he's another one that's a very strong competitor as well. And I'm just excited to be here with him and get to work.
It's going to be a lot of fun. You got a chance to talk with Chad O'Shea, our wide receiver coach. How did that conversation go?
It went well, man. We all just kind of talking about how excited we are. And, just to see the smile and to be welcomed by the open arms is just what I'm super excited about, man. I'm super blessed to be in that position.
I know a lot was made about last year in New York, when at one point you were unhappy with what was going on and you wanted to change the year. Well, now you've gotten it. And I think people sometimes misunderstand that, right? from what I've gathered sitting here with you for a few minutes, you're a competitor. You want to be able to help your team win, and it's probably frustrating when you feel like you weren't able to do that. Now that you're in a place where that's not going to be an issue, how exciting is that for the competitor and you knowing that we've got a lot of pieces in here. We got a lot of guys who've been to Pro Bowls, and now we have a special quarterback, special receiving class. We got a chance to do some real good things.
Man, that's all I can ask for. You know, I'm literally just going to be smiling, you know, because I feel like a lot of people aren't blessed to be in that position. You know, it's all about kind of the position that you fall into, because we don't get to choose all the time. So I'm glad that I'm here. So all right, I'm glad to be a Brown.
We're glad to have you. You're comfortable playing the X. You're comfortable playing inside. What do you like to do anything more than the other?
It doesn't matter. I'm with it. Wherever the coaches see me, I'm with it.
Yeah. Just wherever the ball's going to come.
Yeah, wherever the ball at, I want to be there.
That's where you want to be. All right, let's get to know you a little bit kind of off the field. I see obviously some beautiful Travis Scotts on your feet right there. You enjoy sneakers?
Yeah, I'm definitely a sneakerhead.
All right, what would you say, what's your top one or two in your collection that you like the most?
I'm like a Jordan fan.
Yeah.
Obviously, you see what I'm saying? But I don't know, I kind of work my way towards, you know, a lot of designer stuff too as well. But my favorite Jordan I would have to say right now is probably the Travis Scott Lows ones. Those are like my favorite. But I just really got some new Air Force Ones. You can't never go wrong with those.
There's a lot of timeless classics in
there.
Yeah,
it really is. It really is. But I have a lot of sneakers, so I don't know. I would have to go through them. I just like I'm the type of person, I change clothes like 3-4 times a day.
So you're going to be our photographer's best friend on travel.
I'm with it. I'm gonna be fresh for sure.
You're going to be bringing it? Okay, that's good. What's something that you want Browns fans to know about you? Because it's one thing we can all go and watch your tape and get very excited, you know, but to know who you are, what you stand for, what's something when they see, you know, more on the back of your jersey that you want them to be thinking about, not football related?
Well, first and foremost, I know I'm a man of God, you see what I'm saying? So I'm real strong in that. I have really high faith, and I just want everyone to know that, you know, I'm walking in faith in everything I do. I'm not a perfect person, but I always want to impact the people around me and do better and be better. So that's kind of what I stand for. You know, outside of this, I try to move in a way of grace and being positive and everything. You see what I'm saying? Everybody goes through obstacles, and I feel like that's what life represents. You know, not just only obstacles, obviously the highs and the lows, but just how to get through them. That's what we're all here for. We need people. Yeah. You know, people need people. So I kind of want to be that person that, you know, someone can lean on as well. You see what I'm saying? I'm not perfect. I go through things just like you do, you know, so I just kind of want to set that example of being that positive aspect in people's life.
Yeah, it takes a lot in a community, right? And it is a community. And I'll tell you what, you're in probably from a professional standpoint in the SEC, this is the closest thing you're going to get to the SEC in terms of a football community, Cleveland, the dog pound, all of that. You got to feel some of the good of the dog pound and maybe some of the disappointment of the dog pound last year in that Week 2 game. We won't talk about that at all. But when you know that you're going to go to a place where, you know, down when you're going in the SEC and you got a game on Saturday, everybody in the town's clock is set to that kick on Saturday. That's how it is here on Sunday. It is that
30-30
atmosphere. How exciting will that be for you to kind of get in front of that passion and feel that? Because I'm going to tell you what, when you go, next time you're back here, you go anywhere, Browns fans are passionate. Mm-hmm. They are fired up. You're here. You've probably seen it on social media already, but it's a passionate group.
I mean, I'm super excited about that, you know, and that's all someone could ask for. You know what I'm saying? You want to feel welcome. And I'm going to do my best and, you know, bring what I know I can here, too. Make sure everybody's screaming and loud. Just make sure they're at the games.
They'll be at the games.
Yeah.
And do you even know what winning means in this town? Like, do you know what it'll mean for these people?
Not yet.
Not yet? Well, you're going to bring it here, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
why you're here.
I'm with
Elijah,
that.
we couldn't be happier to have you here. Welcome to the Browns, and excited to see you get on the field and get to work.
You're up.
It's the we tell all it's the most SEC-like environment in the
that was
league.
right from the Bo Bishop playbook, right?
Yeah,
there, that whole line of
I like that
discussion.
Well,
yeah.
that's it. It's an apples to apples. There aren't that many places in the league. There's probably less than 10, I would say, that kind of have that feel to it. And this is one of them. So, yeah, it's going to be special, and it's pretty thrilling to be able to get a player like that. Look at Tequila Fila.
Oh my God!
What's he doing? Is he following people?
I don't know, but he looks so happy. Look at him.
So much to love about him. It's fantastic. What do we got there?
Similar, but not. Looks like a West Virginia lid.
Yeah. Wonder what that's about. They wore those this year. That's a throwback.
It's actually a nice lid.
It's a gorgeous lid. I'm guessing there's something to do with that. Rich Cimini will join us coming up next. We'll go around the league. Josh Dobbs in studio with us in the second hour as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. When a medical malpractice injury calls you injury, call the medical malpractice attorneys at 1-800-ELK Ohio. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head out on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. We're joined by ESPN NFL Nation Jets reporter Rich Sabini joining us there on the hotline. Great friend of the program. Rich, thanks so much for taking the time. Of course, we're having this conversation. We'd love to do it any day, but timely because Elijah Moore was here in the building. That trade got worked out yesterday afternoon. What can you tell us about Elijah Moore in terms of the years that he was in New York and your dealings with him?
Yeah, Elijah had a very interesting stay in New York. Obviously a very high draft pick, top of the second round. The Jets were overjoyed that they got him. They had him rated as a late first rounder. They got him in the second. He had a promising rookie year that ended with an injury, but he was considered one of their foundational guys. When you mentioned the guys that they wanted to build around, he was one of the names that always came up. And then last year, everything kind of went off the rails. He got off to a really slow start. He was not seeing the ball at all. I mean, the guy was getting no targets early in the year, and he had a blow-up at practice one day with the offensive coordinator. Was sent home, was benched that week, did not play, and all of a sudden there's a trade request. And so I think the Browns are getting a talented player with 2 years remaining on his contract at a very affordable contract, a guy who was just really disgruntled in New York and was just looking for a change of scenery, and the Jets granted him his wish.
Yeah, Rich, going back, we just went through those final 6 games of his rookie year, 5 touchdowns in those games, a 100-yard game, was catching about 6 passes a game, and was so productive. How did it go from that to what happened at the beginning of last year?
Yeah, if you look closely at those games in his rookie year, most of that came when Zach Wilson was not in the lineup.
That's right.
He had some, he had some Joe Flacco in there. He had some Mike White. He even had some Johnson, the fourth stringer at the particular time. So he just did not have chemistry with Zach Wilson. And then this particular year, he started off. He was like the first 2 games, he was like okay. He had a couple of catches, a few catches, and then eventually just disappeared. And when Wilson was in the lineup, he was not seeing the ball. It was like he was invisible. He was out there, he was playing, but he was just invisible. And many of us in the media thought that his issues were with Wilson. But, obviously Wilson got benched later in the year. And, Elijah's production got a little bit better, not much, but we thought once Wilson's out of the picture now, they're going to get Aaron Rodgers. So we thought that would probably appease Elijah Moore, but evidently not. He just wanted to get out.
Yeah, and it was interesting seeing the reaction. So even though he may have been upset, it felt like he certainly had the respect of his teammates, and obviously the offensive rookie of the year, Garrett Wilson, who tweeted out no yesterday, which I saw that you retweeted. So I got a chance to talk to him today, Elijah, and it seemed like a very good guy, very excited, a competitor, and very happy to be here. But it seemed like he was pretty well liked by his teammates, despite things maybe not going the way that he wanted on the field. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. The guy, he is a talented player, and I think they respected that. He did work hard at it. He just got really, really emotional and caught up in what was going on last year, and his timing was bad. I mean, he came out publicly and requested a trade request after the Jets had arguably one of their biggest wins of the year. They were on a 3-game winning streak. They beat the Packers, and he comes out and requests a trade. So his timing stunk. It was selfish to do that, and I think there was some teammates that were surprised by that. Eventually, they embraced him, and I think they kind of empathized with him that he was not getting the ball. And the thing to know about Elijah, he is a good guy. I've had good dealings with him. He is extremely close to A.J. Brown. They are practically brothers, from Ole Miss, and they do everything together. They talk constantly, several times a day. And so I think he saw A.J. get that trade out of Tennessee, get that massive contract, and just have so much success with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. And I think he said, he wants to do the same. He goes, I got to get out of New York. I just don't see it happening for me here. And so I think that probably factored into his thinking as well.
Rich, for our fans who haven't seen him at his best, what is he at his best? What type of player is he? What is he bringing to this offense?
He's a really good route runner, especially at the top of his routes. He's able to create separation. I think he works hard on it. He's just got a natural feel for that. He's explosive. He accelerates quickly. I have, as we're talking about him, I have vivid memories of his first training camp as a rookie. I had people in the Jets front office tell me that he was the best player on the field. I mean, he was unbelievable as a rookie in mini camp and in training camp. And then once he got a little slow start as a rookie, a couple of growing pains, but then he caught his stride around midseason, and he was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, the Jets thought this guy was a legitimate star, and things just went south in a hurry. Production went down, attitude went down, and finally they just said that's it, enough is enough. But he's a fabulous route runner. He's better out of the slot. The Jets initially played him as their ex-receiver. They were trying to make him an outside receiver, and then last year, about midway through the year, they moved him back to the slot. I think he's much more productive in the slot. So I don't know where Cleveland is thinking of him, but that's where he's best.
Yeah, I would think that's where he would line up with Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones on the outside and Elijah on the inside. But he's got that versatility, right? He brings a speed element that we don't have, an explosiveness that the Browns certainly were lacking. But, Rich, I got to ask you the hard questions here. Is this the most that you have talked in an interview in the last few weeks without it being all about Aaron Rodgers?
Who? I don't know who you're talking about. Yeah, we set the record there with no A-Rod
nice
talk there for a while. But I was surprised by the trade. I mean, we thought. I mean, sure, we heard the rumors. They've been going on since last year. But I just thought with Rodgers presumably coming in and a fresh start, a new offensive coordinator, we thought that it was a Michael LaFleur issue as well, because when Elijah had his blow up at practice, which was out of character for him because he's a very mild-mannered guy. He just blew up at LaFleur at practice and, told him to, I can't say the language, but
sure,
told him to basically take a hike in so many words. And so that's when they sent him home. And so we thought a lot of the issue was LaFleur, evidently not. And so, I guess the appeal of playing with Aaron Rodgers did not satisfy Elijah's desire to stay in New York.
Where are they with that? I mean, we might as well just eat the low-hanging fruit here, Rich. Is it something that there's pressure to be done soon, or does this deal perhaps allow for it to be easier done with that second-round pick headed the Jets' way?
Yeah, there's no question. The chance to get back a second-round pick was the Rodgers deal definitely played into it. So now they have 2 second-rounders, 42 and 43. And they clearly do not want to send their first rounder to Green Bay. That's the major sticking point in the compensation talks. So now they have 2 second rounders. If they have to deal one of them to Green Bay, then they still have a pick in the second round. And so I think that was a big part of what they did with this Elijah Moore trade. Maybe he would have gotten traded anyway. I just think this was a chance to satisfy compensation need to make this Rodgers trade happen. And as for the timeline, which you asked about, there's really no sense of urgency until the draft. So the 2 sides, I'm sure, will meet at the owners' meetings coming up in Phoenix next week. They'll be in the same place. You would think that they would get together, but not until I could see it go into the week of the draft. And by then the pressure shifts to Green Bay. Certainly you would want to get some 2023 draft picks out of this. So that's when the pressure will really be on Green Bay to do a deal. For now, though, there's no real pressure on either team.
It's wild to just because it almost feels like it's done, but it's not. So it's just hanging over everybody a little bit.
It is hanging over everybody, and this is a Jets team now that obviously feels like it can compete for a Super Bowl with bringing in Aaron Rodgers once that actually does get done. But, Rich, are you curious, just given everything that we've kind of seen from Aaron Rodgers and how it's been kind of with the media, that he's doing McAfee, that just Aaron Rodgers in New York is going to be a pretty incredible experiment? At least from the outside, it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be any more of a circus than Tim Tebow was when he came in 2012. And I mean, it's almost laughable to mention Tebow and
Sure.
Rodgers in the same sentence. You know, but in terms of quarterbacking, obviously no comparison. But in terms of star power, definitely a comparison. Tebow was massive, and that was a circus, and the Jets did mishandle that. I think they probably learned some lessons from that. It's a different group of people here now, and they probably will have a better handle on it with Rodgers. But Rodgers, look, he is thin-skinned. Obviously, you can see it in those McAfee interviews. Some media reports definitely get under his skin, but he's a very smart guy, and I think he'll do fine with the media, the sports media. Now, the other stuff like TMZ or, you know, paparazzi following him around if he goes to a Broadway show with his girlfriend, I mean, that's a different story.
Sure.
That he never experienced in Green Bay. There's 8 million people in New York with cell phone cameras. So, I mean, everyone's a sports photojournalist, So, that could be an issue for him. But I think like the day-to-day dealings with us, I don't think it'll be much of a problem.
Rich, great stuff. As always, really appreciate your expertise today. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Have a good one, guys.
All right, that's Rich Cimini, ESPN, NFL Nation, Jets reporter on the Twisted Tea Hotline, brought to you by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. I'm sure you saw this, but you saw Ben Axelrod push this out as well. Last year, Elijah Moore, 66 targets. 36 of those targets were deemed catchable. He had 37 catches on those.
Yeah, he doesn't drop the ball.
Everything that's in the vicinity, including one that wasn't,
he
caught. So that's a good thing. One of the guys will certainly be throwing in the balls a little bit. It's Josh Dobbs. He's back. We're thrilled that he's back. He's going to join us in studio here. Coming up next, you'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Ballybet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Joined now in studio, our new quarterback, Josh Dobbs. New old quarterback, back. You know, it's funny.
He's back.
I was telling, we were telling you off air last week, it was around this time when we were kind of going through the roster. What do we
into
need?
Existence.
And one of the things we said, we're like, it would be great to have a great backup in here, and we both go, with Josh Dobbs, it'd be great to have
Gotta
a
have more
Just
Dobbs, baby.
Go get him.
Like the
Without a
cowbell.
doubt.
And now you're here, man. How did it come about? And welcome back, by the way.
No doubt. It's great to be back. You know, obviously had a little roundabout way to end the season. It was a lot of fun. Really embraced the opportunity down in Tennessee. Enjoyed the couple weeks that I was down there. But, man, I got so much great support for Cleveland, even from when I ended up leaving toward the end of last season, from the coaching staff, AB, like leading up to those two starts. Obviously, they were highly publicized, and just getting like the support, like Coach Stefanski, AVP, AB, they're texting me before and after the game, like tuning in and everything. So it was good to have that support. And then obviously, you know, being here last year, like the relationships had been established. So going into free agency this year, wanted to see the opportunities on the field, but also wanted to go somewhere where they wanted me to be there, right? And I felt like I could contribute to the room and felt really comfortable with the scheme. And so had some great conversations with Coach Stefanski, with AB, and it all worked out. I'm glad to be back.
So we were shocked, obviously, when things went down. You had this tremendous preseason. You looked great. It looked like you would be the natural guy that we would keep in this program forever. Now, it may ultimately end up working out that way. And the good news is you got to go and play in a playoff game and get starts, which you wouldn't have gotten had you been here. But a wild thing, and I think a lot of us, like I said, we were shocked. I'm sure you were probably a little bit surprised at the time as well. How are you able to kind of overcome that sting and say, you know what, like, let's do this again, because it is the right place for all of us to be?
Without a doubt. You know, obviously I understand, you know, there's a lot of emotions in football, especially when you pour in a lot of time. And, yeah, I was shocked. But the communication, I'll be honest, was tremendous. You know, a lot of times players get blindsided by things, and the communication is tough, and that can leave some sore feelings between the player and the organization. But the front office did a great job communicating throughout it. And for me, you know, looking at it, it's exactly what you said. You know, I wanted the opportunity to go out and play, and that opportunity was on the board last year. Given the circumstance, I was going to take the opportunity and run with it, and it ended up working out. We were talking about in the break. It's like, obviously, I didn't know how it was going to work out, but hindsight 2020, you know, it worked out for the best to get that experience. And so, but no, the communication was great, and that's what ultimately led to being able to come back and feeling really excited about being back here in Cleveland.
Did that validate to you that, yes, you can do this? Because, I mean, the last time you started a game was in college.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it validated, because, you know, I've always been aware.
Sure.
And every time, you know, when you back up Big Ben for 5 years, it can be a little difficult to get the opportunities, right? But every time I've been thrown on the field, no matter the circumstance, I've always excelled. So my expectations are really high. It was fun to get out there and compete, man. Like,
Threw some dimes, bro.
exactly. I appreciate it, man. It was fun. It was so much fun. Obviously, wish the outcome changed up a little different. And we all know how football is, man. It's a game of inches, a game of a couple of plays. We were talking about the details that go into it. So looking back on it, you know, I know ways that I can personally improve, which is really exciting to be able to dive into that and be able to talk with AVP and Kev in the room and hit the ground running here in Cleveland.
It is a way, though, of knowing that your process works, because certainly you believe in your ability, but then there aren't those opportunities. And then when one comes and you're, okay, I have been doing it right. I believe in my abilities. I have my abilities, but also my preparedness is there. My ability to be a pro is there. Yeah. That is something that I'm sure the entire league takes notice of, and obviously we did, and can't wait to have now that you're back in the mix. But that had to be good. Validate. I know that's a word that sometimes people worry about, because I always believe in myself is the idea. But there's that proof that everything you were doing, everything you've done, it works.
100%. That was a great feeling. You know, just the preparation, right? So many times I'll always tell people, sometimes you play the quarterback position. If you're not the starter every week, you know, it's like you got to take a test at some point throughout the year, and you got to prepare for that test every week. You just don't know when you're going to take it. So to be able to go out and excel and play at a high level. I mean, sure, I was in the Jacksonville game, like catching the ball, knowing exactly what coverage they were going to be in. Awesome. And that's through the preparation and those banked reps of watching it, whether it's, you know, talking about it to the guy that's currently on the field or now in those situations, being able to be that guy on the field and really reaping the benefits of your preparation. It felt really good.
What's kind of been the response from your teammates when you knew you said, I'm coming back?
Yeah, it's been cool. It's been fun. Like just seeing like the text messages from different guys I have different relationships with. Like Chubb sent me just like a Batman emoji. I was like, right on cue. I sent him back like an astronaut waving at him. You know, it's been cool. I'm excited. Like a lot of familiar faces, and like throughout the off season, just it's a small circle, and we all take the same trip, so we see each other a lot outside of ball. And it's been cool. Like I've seen a lot of guys out at Super Bowl, was able to catch up with them at various NFLPA events as well. So to come back like into the locker room where you know so many guys, you have a great connection with a lot of the guys. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to work with everyone.
Can you take us? One of the things we're very much looking forward to, and we with Elijah Moore in the mix now, like we did a 53. We're like, man, we could go. We got a team we can put on the field now. But you were in the building, you were in those rooms last year through camp when we were dealing with all that stuff with Deshaun and the uncertainty around it. When you think of the amount of curveballs that were thrown this organization's way, this coaching staff's way, as you look back on that, what comes to mind on how all of that was?
I think like such a good foundation in the midst of all that was still built, and that's what was extremely impressive. You know, we were just talking to AVP. You know, it's like last year this time you had 3 quarterbacks show up that haven't been in the scheme, that didn't really know each other, and like you have to go win games with that room, right? And you have to get all 3 of them ready to play. And so this year, I think like the steps that as a team that we are ahead from last year at this point we're tremendously ahead, just because at the quarterback position you have guys that now all played in the system, feel extremely comfortable with the system, and you've added some really good pieces around them to really make this thing go. And we know the type of players we have on defense as well. It's been really cool to see it come together, and it's going to be a great year.
To try to give people an idea of, you mentioned the details earlier, and how those details are built kind of brick by brick, lay the foundation of the offense and what it's going to be, and then we can feather in and get more advanced as we go through a full season. Mm-hmm. Last year, the Browns had to do that almost on parallel paths because of the situation with Jacoby and Deshaun and the difference in their skill sets. Now that you have an off season where you guys are going to be able to go on one path, how much different is that actually?
It's different because you just like there's no uncertainty. Like last year, like we all knew like there's just uncertainty given the situation, right? Just a ton of variables that you couldn't really control. This year, like all the variables are in our control, and so when we get back to work and OTAs and we're sitting in the film room, we're not learning formations. We're not learning like which footwork pairs up with this route. It's talking ball and scheme and like. If we're thinking about this coverage, how exactly do we want to attack it, and what details can we go straight to the receivers now that we've been in this system and tell them, hey, this is what we're looking for from the QB position from this route, and like just those higher level conversations and starting those earlier in the process, the team building process, will only allow us to hit the ground running here in April, and really like for us to have like the ultimate highest potential once the season comes around.
Your job is a unique one, right? Because your job is to be ready if something were to happen. And then the other part of your job is to make sure that the guy who you're backing up is there. So you have to support. And anybody listen to Josh Dobbs talk can say, like, well, whenever this is done, you can be a coach, general manager. You can do any of those things like that, it feels like. But when you think about one thing that we're all curious about is, and you were around Deshaun more than anybody else around here, when you think about what he can be and what you've seen from him, and we've heard him talk about some of the frustration and the rust that he was trying to knock off last season, what do you expect him to be at his best here?
I think really the sky's the limit, and he'll get back to he led the league in passing a couple years ago, right? And that's the player we all know he can be. That's the player he expects himself to be. Just being around him, and we have a great relationship both growing up in Atlanta. We did the whole quarterback circuit. He's a year behind me coming out, but we did it step in, step out since high school. So we've seen a lot of the same experiences, and I think that really plays into it. Like when you're able to go in a room and just be yourself, right, and not feel like you're stepping on any toes. Have a great relationship and camaraderie. That's really important in the QB room, is because it's it can be such a fragile room sometimes. With obviously QBs can have some egos sometimes, but in our room, like, we don't, and that's what's really exciting. That's what was very exciting for me to want to come back, right? To be in that environment, be around people I enjoy spending time with, and talk ball and push each other to be the best players we can be.
And you got to be excited as well. There's going to be an evolution. There always is. If you stay the same, you're not moving forward in
Without
what
a
this
doubt.
offense is. And it's probably going to be a little more quarterback-centric would be a way to say it. And that's probably got to be a lot of fun for you to kind of see how those changes evolve and help prepare yourself for an offense. You're probably going to be in the shotgun. We're probably going to be throwing the ball a lot higher frequency than we did a year ago. And so is that kind of a fun thing when you know that you're coming back and it's going to be the same, but it's going to be different and in a way that is certainly slanted towards your position?
Without a doubt. And I think it's really slanted to both of our skill sets is what's really exciting. So just to be out there and really running the show, helping Deshaun run the show, it's going to be a lot of fun. As we know, like, the ultimate name of the game is get the ball in your playmakers' hands. And with the new additions, such as like yesterday and the guys that have already established here that we all know and love, man, like getting the balls in those guys' hands, using our skill set will be fun.
I want to follow up on one thing that you said when we were talking off air, and just that, you know, there are certain places that have schemes, right? There are certain places that Pound sounds like that don't have schemes, and then there are other places where they really try to tailor whatever it is, and we'll call it a Frankenstein, to their players.
Yeah.
As you've kind of observed the way things are done in the NFL, I don't know, I'm sure they can all work, and
Without a
they
doubt.
have. But, you know, what do you kind of like to see? And is this a place that feels very collaborative from that standpoint?
I think, you know, the biggest success I've seen is one, schemes that give the quarterback options, right? Where no matter what the defense throws you, you know where you can possibly go with the football. And two, the ones that put the right players in the right positions to accentuate their skill sets. And that's what we do here, and that's what's extremely exciting. You know, every play we have an option, right? We know, like, they give us this coverage, we're going here. They give us this pressure, we're going here. And if we get some weird coverage, here's our outlet. And then also, we know if we get one-on-ones, like, the guys are running the routes that they are built to run. You know, whether it's in the slot, running choice routes, outside running individual cuts. You know, there's so many answers in this offense. That's what makes it fun at quarterback, because you seldomly catch the ball and then are figuring out where you're throwing the ball. You know, the ball's in the air, or you're doing your pre-snap process, and you know exactly where the ball is most likely going to go. And then if something changes, right, you have an outlet, a way to get out of dodge. So that's why I enjoy. That's why I've enjoyed, like, over the past year, like, being in the scheme, learning this scheme for the first time, then getting a chance to play in it both here and then in some games down in Tennessee, because it's very similar down there per se. So just to be able to hit the ground running and have that level of comfort going to year 2 of the scheme will be a lot of fun.
It's great.
It's cool. So last time we were at this Meet the Coaches event, and one of the things that came up, somebody asked from the audience, want to know about, you know, audibles. And Coach and AVP said something that I found very illuminating, which is most times most of the plays are called with 2 plays.
Correct.
And so when they go to the line of scrimmage, could be, if it's a run play, it could be based on the way that the front is lined up. You know, if it's an over front, if it's an under front, then we can it, as he says, and go to the other play. It could be 2 passes, could be a pass and a run that you change. So there is a lot. In some schemes, they say the quarterback's responsible for everything, right? Setting all the protections, doing everything. And in other schemes, like in ours, you know, that happens with the line, but still the quarterback ultimately has the chalk, as they say at the end. But I don't think, do people realize how much freedom actually the quarterback actually is kind of instrumental in what it is? Now, there are rules and there are answers so that
For sure.
it's guided there, but you'll get a set of plays, and then based on what you see, you're going to say this is the right play for this situation.
Which I think is the best way to do it, man. Like,
that's
wild.
wild.
When you get a play, you have 40 seconds, and I think, you know, some schemes I've been in have been like, hey, call whatever. And I think, like, yes, you know, we all love playing Madden, but you know, when you're out there and now you're getting hit and now you're under a true play clock, and now, you know, you have fatigue from running or fatigue from, you know, just playing a game, right? You know, you can really handcuff yourself. So in offenses where you have direction and where you have a scheme, a system, and you say, like, hey, like, I'm calling these 2 plays, they both are to do 2 completely different things based on what the defense is giving us. Now it's your job as a quarterback to put us in the right option of plays. That's when there's a great framework, you know, because now, you know, the coaches are providing a plan that's preparing you to go out to play at a high level. Now as a quarterback, there's a plan in place, and you're able to go execute it based on what the defense shows you, you know. So that's true football, right? It's a game of chess. It's a game of chess. That's exactly what you're playing out there. But you're set up to make the right moves, right? you're not just out there just moving pawns and pieces willy-nilly,
Mm-hmm.
hoping they work and you get a checkmate. No, you're making strategic moves throughout the game to win the game.
This is great, man.
Awesome.
No doubt.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
y'all
glad
having
joining
you're
us.
us.
back.
So glad
It's
you're
great.
back. It's
No doubt. Glad to be back.
number one on the wish list. It's great to have you back. Josh Dobbs, Browns quarterback, in studio with us. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. One more. There you go. So the Raiders, Gibbe, or so last night Bryce Young had dinner with Carolina. Wednesday they had it with the Raiders. I guess
It's
anybody
over,
can buy
brother.
you dinner. Yeah.
It's Josh McCown. It's over.
Yeah, it's done. About as. Yeah, I don't know. Like if you
Right now, by
In
the
certain
way,
places,
if only I could bring up a TV volume.
what do you got?
Steve Smith interviewing Nick Saban right now at Alabama Pros Day.
Oh my,
What could go wrong there?
nothing.
Saban.
I bet he loves Steve Smith.
Yeah, and Saban will, and Steve Smith will have such reverence for Saban that that'll be a home run.
Yep.
Saban knows how to navigate that. He'll crush that. He'll absolutely crush it.
Yeah. So the Raiders had dinner with Bryce Young Wednesday night. By the way, Bryce Young declined to weigh in at his pro day workout today.
Well, of course not. He wasn't going to do that. That's why he did it at the combine, so he didn't have to do it now. So he put on fake weight for the combine, which is also just a stupid shell game.
Yes.
Like he put on fake weight at the combine to be 200 pounds, and he took it off because he can't play at that weight for his Alabama pro day. The reality is, if he's 5'10", and he's going to play at 5'10", in cleats he's going to be around 6 feet and about 175, 180 pounds. That's it. That's the list. Like anything else is just nonsense. So then it's just a matter of, are you okay with that? Because from a execution standpoint, he's as good as anybody. He's better outside of pocket than Stroud, although Stroud is supreme in pocket and pretty good outside of pocket, and can make every single throw, as proven not yesterday down in Columbus, but rather all season long. Orlovsky had some fun with him today with some of his throws against Penn State. So there's this narrative that it was only in the Georgia game. Well, no, he had plenty of throws in a lot of games where he handled his business. But yeah, like the notion that it's his height and weight, like he's 5'10", 6 foot in cleats, and he's 180 pounds. That's the list.
And I'm still trying to figure out why the Raiders had dinner with him. The Raiders picked 7, I believe. Yeah. He won't be there.
I wouldn't think.
Unless
I don't
they're
know
looking at moving up.
I don't know what their assets they have to be able to move up to go get him. The first place you could move, I suppose what you say is, if Arizona decides to make 3 available, that's where you do it.
I mean, if he makes it that far.
Right.
Well,
But-
he might. I mean, Houston may say we like Anthony Richardson. I don't mind the due diligence. Arizona's available at 3 for trade if you're the Raiders, if
Yeah.
you want to go there.
The Colts might even trade into the 3rd spot just to make sure that no one usurps them if they.
There was talk yesterday of the Cardinals doing it, what we had proposed for the Bears, which was to do it twice.
Yeah.
Like trade out of 3 to 4, and then trade
again.
from 4
And
back
get,
out.
and get a haul.
By the way, I'm not so sure the Broncos going to be trading Jerry Jeudy now. KJ Hamler has suffered a torn pec working out. He's out at least 4 to 6 months. 4 months, maybe you're back at the start of the season. 6 months, missing a little time.
That was a guy that was very impressive in college. That would have been a nice fit, it feels like. But it will be he hasn't really materialized yet. He was kind of disgruntled in Denver. We'll see how it works out for KJ Hamler.
Yeah.
Talented player, Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So they had him and Dotson. Were they ever out there together? They had to be, right? Wasn't Hamler just 1 year ahead of him?
Yeah. Yep. But they never had.
They never had.
This is always the prop. Well, they do now. They have the Drew Aller kid from he's Medina, I believe. They have him now, who's a 5-star kid out of Medina, but they've never had the quarter. This is the issue. It's the issue at Penn State. It's the issue at Michigan. It's been the issue at Notre Dame. Like they just haven't had a pro at quarterback. Penn State's
How
the biggest
is that?
one. It's hard to get them to go there. Just is. All of the best quarterbacks go south, other than Columbus.
Yeah.
They just do. The 5-star quarterbacks go south. That's where they are. I mean, Bryce Young's a California kid. Like that's just where you go.
Does USC have a chance to get back into getting elite people with?
Yeah, they're already doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, by
that's
getting
what I think.
Caleb Williams to transfer to Oklahoma, they landed. There's a kid behind him named Malachi Nelson, who was the number 1 dual threat kid in last year's class, and they're probably. They're going to be a very short list for Dylan Raiola, who's the number 1 player in 2 years at quarterback, who was previously committed to Ohio State. So, yeah, they're going to be a factory going forward. They will come into the Big Ten in 2 years
And it's gonna be Ohio
fully
State,
loaded.
USC.
Yeah, they'll be fully loaded by the time they get there.
What are they in the opposite division?
They're not going to do divisions. They're going to go divisionless.
Okay.
And there's 3 options they're working on. You're either going to do – you will have either 3 teams you play every year. So, for Ohio State, it would be my hunch is it would be Michigan, Penn State, and Michigan State. would be the 3 teams that they would want to play every year.
Wisconsin?
No, that would be Wisconsin's would be Iowa, Nebraska,
Minnesota.
probably Minnesota.
Okay.
That's what theirs would be. And then the other option is 2. So in that instance, Ohio State's would be Penn State and Michigan.
Yep.
And then you rotate everybody else. You see them twice over a 4-year period.
Okay.
And then the other one is kind of an imbalanced where you're like some teams play 3 teams all the time and some teams play 1 because there aren't true rivals. The problem is how do you find 3 teams that Rutgers has to play every year?
You don't.
You don't. So, and the same is true with like USC and UCLA. Like on the 3 teams that they have to play how are you going to legislate the 3 teams USC has to play every year? They have to play UCLA, but then who are the other 2?
But the question becomes: do you want that? Do you want like Ohio State, Michigan, and USC playing each other
No.
every single year?
You don't.
No.
Because what you want is you have 3
The-
television windows that have to be filled.
So
You've
you
got
want-
a noon window on Fox. You've
Yeah.
got a 3:30 window on CBS and the new television deal, and you have an 8 o'clock deal
So you
on
have
NBC.
one of them in each window.
So you need one of those to lift every single window. You need Ohio State at noon, Michigan at 3:30, USC at 8.
Isn't this
some combination
Isn't
of
this
that.
a good reason to bring Cal and Stanford into the Big Ten as well?
Not right now. Not right now. It's not because they're honestly like from that perspective, they'd be
Arizona.
better off with Oregon and Washington.
Arizona.
Yeah, I think the Pac-12 is going to survive. It's going to be a short deal. It's going to be the Pac-10. It'll be a short deal, probably a 3 to 5 year window. It won't be as much as, I mean, it's not going to be as even. It'll probably be the lowest per year of any of the Power 5 conferences, but it'll allow them to survive for 5 years. The key thing to watch on that is, are they willing to go? If they go all streaming, it'll be an incredible mistake in my view. I think they'll be then broadcasting in closets.
Yeah.
So it's really important that they still have a network partner of some sort.
Do you think so? Then, if that is the way that they go, the Big Ten championship, then you could get them because right now you can't get an Ohio State Michigan Big Ten championship.
Correct.
So now
you
you
could.
could get Ohio State Michigan, get Ohio. It'll just be the top 2 teams.
They'll take the top 2 teams. So, by the way, the SEC is going to do this as well. When they add Texas and Oklahoma, they're getting rid of the divisions. They're just going to play a balanced schedule.
I love
They're going to
that.
play each. The SEC is going to. They've locked in. They're going to do 3 automatics. It's not officially locked in, but it is because Saban is already complaining about it. They're going to go 3 teams that they play every year. So for Alabama, it'll be Auburn. I think for Alabama, it's Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee.
Why is he complaining about that?
Because their 3 are really good. So like
Sure.
some teams are going to get to coast a little bit.
Yeah.
Like their 3 LSU's will be Alabama, Arkansas, and Texas A&M. Like Alabama's
easier.
is more difficult marginally. So that's where his beef is. I mean, some of them could be real easy. Like Oklahoma's could be real
Just
easy.
feels-
Oklahoma's could be like Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas.
Feels to me that you need to put them in pods,
Yeah, they don't
little
want to
4-team pods.
Yeah, they don't want to do that. They want to go the divisionalist thing. And then I think what they want, the reason they don't want to do the pods is they want to make sure that every team comes through every place more regularly. With the pods, it would be less. It'd be like once every 4 years instead of once every other year.
Well, I just meant for like who you played. So 4 teams will play. They play each other once every year, and then you would play everybody else.
Yeah, the reason they don't want to do that is for that reason. That it limits the amount of teams you can play consistently in your conference. Like you don't want to go 4 years with Texas going to like Tuscaloosa.
Sure.
So that's the reason for why they're doing it. I agree with you.
But if they're still playing 3 teams every year, you're saying because then they can spread out. Like
They can
LSU
spread out the
will
rest
still
of
be
it.
spread out.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the way that's going to go. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Hoops tonight, 6:30. I tell you what, my favorite game of the night, other than the one that I can't see, which is UCLA and Gonzaga, which is a 9:45 tip.
Yeah.
The
It's
best
a 10
game of the
o'clock.
night, if you're a Hoops fan, will be Kansas State and Michigan State. That goes at 6:30. The Kansas State guard, Newell, is a joy.
Pure joy.
He's fun. So that's a fun game there. And then if you can make the last one, that'll be fun as well. We're back tomorrow for more fun. The next level is next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.